He silent dawn. The morning shift at Kepler 442b started like any other. Miners descended into the crystalline caves, their headlamps cutting through the perpetual darkness of the planet's mineral-rich depths. Children played in the habitat domes while their parents worked. No one saw the shadow that fell across their star until it was too late. The Krellian warship emerged from hyperspace without warning, its hull darker than the void itself, bristling with weapons that had conquered 100 worlds. The mining colony's defense grid, designed for asteroid deflection rather than warfare, managed exactly 3 shots before it was vaporized. The settlement below lasted 17 minutes longer. Commander Sarah Chen watched it all from Sentinel-7, a monitoring station hidden in the system's outer asteroid belt. Her hands gripped the console until her knuckles went white, forcing herself to keep recording as the colony she had visited just last month became glass and ash. The screams over the emergency channels cut off one by one until only static remained. Her crew of 12 sat frozen around her, some weeping silently, others staring at the screens in disbelief. "Commander," Lieutenant Torres whispered, his voice cracking. "Should we send a distress signal?" Chen shook her head sharply. "No, they don't know we're here. We stay dark. We record everything, and we get this information to Earth." She turned to her communications officer. "Williams, prepare a quantum burst. Everything we've recorded. Mark it Priority Alpha." The Krellians moved with terrifying efficiency. Their flagship, a vessel 3 kilometers long that looked like a predator made of obsidian and malice, hung over the destroyed colony for exactly 1 hour. Smaller ships descended to the surface, not for survivors, there were none, but to plant something. Strange monoliths that pulsed with crimson light, claiming the dead world for their empire. Then they jumped. The next colony fell within 6 hours. Chen and her crew could only watch as New Bangalore, with its population of 40,000, tried to mount a defense. The colony's militia ships, converted freighters with hastily welded weapon systems, formed a defensive line. They fought with the desperate courage of those defending their homes, their families, their children. It didn't matter. The Krellian fleet swept them aside like dust before a hurricane. The surface bombardment was methodical, grid by grid, until the entire colony was nothing but molten rock and memory. Again the monoliths were planted. Again the Krellians moved on. By the time they reached the 3rd colony, Esperanza, word had spread. The colonists tried to evacuate, civilian ships launching in panicked waves toward anywhere but there. The Krellians hunted them down with casual cruelty, their fighter craft weaving through the refugee vessels like sharks through schools of fish. Not a single ship escaped the system. Williams had tears streaming down his face as he maintained the recording equipment. "Why?" he kept asking. "We never even knew they existed. Why are they doing this?" It was Sentinel-7 xenolinguist Dr. Yuki Tanaka who found the answer. She had been running the Krellian communications through every translation matrix they had. Most of it was military chatter, coordinates, and confirmations, but then she found it. A transmission from their flagship to what seemed to be their high command. "Commander," she called, her voice hollow. "You need to hear this." The translated words filled the command center. "The human infestation spreads too quickly. Their colonies multiply like a virus. We cleanse the galaxy of this disease before it reaches our borders. No warnings. No negotiations. They are beneath such considerations." The room fell silent except for the hum of electronics. Chen felt something cold and sharp crystallize in her chest. Not fear, not anymore. Something harder. "How many colonies have they hit?" she asked. 5 confirmed, Torres reported. "They're heading toward the Sol system on a direct path. At their current speed," he swallowed. 6 days until they reach Earth." Chen stood, her decision made. "We're breaking cover. Full emergency burst to Earth Command. Everything we have." She looked at each of her crew members. "If they detect us, they'll come for us. But Earth needs to know what's coming." The quantum burst erupted from Sentinel-7 like a scream across space. 3 minutes later, the Krellian fleet changed course. "They've detected us," Williams reported unnecessarily. Everyone could see the tactical display, the enemy ships banking toward their position with predatory intent. "Time to intercept?" Chen asked calmly. 14 minutes. She nodded. "Continue transmitting. Every second counts." She opened a channel to Earth Command, knowing the delay meant her words would arrive after she was gone. "This is Commander Sarah Chen, Sentinel-7. Krellian Empire has destroyed colonies Kepler 442b, New Bangalore, Esperanza, Haven, and Meridian. Total casualties estimated at 300,000. Enemy fleet consists of 1 dreadnought, 12 cruisers, approximately 40 fighters. They consider humanity a disease to be eliminated. No negotiations possible. Recommend immediate activation of all defense protocols. We're transmitting until the end. Chan out. On Earth, the message arrived like a thunderclap in the night. Admiral Marcus Rodriguez, a veteran of the Mars Rebellion and the Titan conflicts, was pulled from his bed by the priority alert. He stood in the war room of Earth Command, watching the footage from Sentinel-7, his weathered face growing harder with each destroyed colony. Around him, the Joint Chiefs assembled. General Patricia Webb of the Marine Corps, Admiral Kenji Yamamoto of the Navy, and Director Alexander Volkov of Intelligence. They watched in grim silence as the last transmission from Sentinel-7 showed the Krellian ships closing in, then static. Opinions? Rodriguez asked. Webb spoke first. They think we're weak, scattered, easy prey. She smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. They have no idea what they've awakened. Yamamoto pulled up a holographic display of Earth's true defensive capabilities. Not the obsolete stations and patrol craft the galaxy knew about, but the real defenses. The ones humanity had been building in secret for 50 years, ever since first contact taught them the universe was not a friendly place. Project Prometheus? He suggested. Rodriguez nodded slowly. Send the activation codes. All of them. Across the solar system, things that had been sleeping began to wake. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors that had been sealed for decades groaned open. In the asteroid belt, what appeared to be mining stations revealed themselves as battleships. Around Jupiter, defense platforms that officially didn't exist powered up weapons that violated 3 galactic treaties humanity had never signed. Director Volkov leaned forward. The Krellians intercepted no human military communications during their attacks. They think we're civilians with toys. He smiled coldly. They never encountered our actual military. We've been very careful about that. Rodriguez turned to the tactical display showing the approaching Krellian fleet. They gave us no warning. No chance for diplomacy. They slaughtered our people like animals. His voice dropped to a growl. They're about to learn why humans are the only species that weaponized splitting the atom before achieving spaceflight. The War Council began to plan, not for defense but for something else entirely. The Krellians thought they were exterminating pests. They were about to discover they had awakened a sleeping giant that had been preparing for war since the day humanity looked up at the stars and realized they were not alone. As the Krellian fleet approached Earth, supremely confident in their superiority, they had no idea that Sarah Chen's sacrifice had given humanity something precious, time to prepare, and more importantly, rage to fuel what was coming. The silence before the storm was ending. And when it broke, the galaxy would learn why humans, despite all their flaws and seemingly primitive nature, had survived everything the universe had thrown at them and emerged stronger each time. The Reckoning Storm. The Krellian fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system with the arrogant precision of conquerors who had never known defeat. Supreme Commander Vextor stood on the bridge of his dreadnought, the Extinction, his 6 arms crossed in satisfaction. The human homeworld lay before them, seemingly defenseless, ripe for cleansing. Scanning their defenses, his tactical officer reported. Detecting standard orbital platforms, approximately 200 civilian vessels, and peculiar. There appeared to be derelict structures around their outer planets. Vextor's mandibles clicked dismissively, debris from their primitive attempts at expansion. Begin the advance. We'll cleanse the outer colonies first. Let their homeworld watch their offspring burn. It was the last mistake he would ever make. As the Krellian fleet passed Neptune's orbit, space itself seemed to shimmer. What they had dismissed as derelict structures suddenly blazed to life. The defunct mining station on Triton revealed itself as a massive railgun platform, its electromagnets charging with a whine that could be detected across the system. Around Neptune's other moons, similar installations awakened. Captain David Okonkwo, commanding Earth's hidden 8th Fleet from the battleship Resilience, watched the Krellians enter the kill zone. He was a tall man with eyes that had seen too much, a veteran of humanity's secret wars against pirates and slavers in the outer systems. Wars the galaxy never knew about, because Earth made sure there were no survivors to tell the tale. All ships, this is Okonkwo. They murdered 300,000 civilians, men, women, children. They called us a disease. His voice carried across the encrypted channels to 200 warships hidden throughout the system. Show them what happens when you corner a wounded animal. The first railgun shot from Triton traveled at 15% the speed of light. The Krellian cruiser it hit simply ceased to exist, transformed into an expanding cloud of superheated plasma. Before the aliens could react, 19 more shots followed from different positions. Vextor roared in rage and confusion. "Return fire! All weapons!" But as the Krellian fleet tried to respond, they discovered something disturbing. Their sensors were being jammed by thousands of microsatellites humanity had seeded throughout the system. Their targeting computers couldn't lock onto the human positions. They were fighting blind. From the asteroid belt, Admiral Rodriguez coordinated the human response. Phase 2. Release the swarm. From Mars, from the Moon, from hidden bases throughout the system, humanity's real fleet emerged. Not the converted freighters and patrol boats the galaxy knew about, but purpose-built warships. The Resilience and her sister ships were smaller than the Krellian vessels, but they were built with one philosophy: hit hard, hit fast, never stop moving. And they weren't alone. Ambassador Takari of the Altarian Federation watched from her diplomatic vessel as humanity revealed its true nature. Her people had traded with Earth for decades, thinking them peaceful merchants. Now she understood the truth. Humans weren't peaceful because they were weak. They were peaceful because they chose to be, and someone had just taken that choice away. She opened a channel to her government. The humans are engaging the Krellians. Recommendation: assist immediately. If we don't stand with them now, we may be next. Within minutes, 17 Altarian warships dropped out of hyperspace, followed by vessels from the Proxima Alliance, the Vegan Confederation, and even the traditionally neutral Cedians. They had all heard Sentinel-7's final transmission, seen the footage of burning colonies. They knew what the Krellians intended. Captain Okonkwo felt a grim satisfaction as the Allied fleet grew. "Welcome to the party," he broadcast. "Let's show these genocidal bastards what happens when they attack one member of the galactic community." The battle for the solar system became a masterclass in human warfare. While their allies engaged the Krellian fleet directly, human ships used tactics that seemed insane to conventional military thinking. They performed micro-jumps inside the system, appearing behind enemy lines, launching nuclear torpedoes and jumping away before return fire could find them. They used Jupiter's gravity well to slingshot kinetic weapons at tremendous speeds. They turned asteroids into improvised missiles. But the real surprise came from Earth itself. As the Krellian dreadnought Extinction finally fought through the defensive lines and approached Earth, Vextor prepared for his moment of triumph. "Charge main weapon. We'll burn their world as we burned their colonies." That's when Earth's moon moved. Not the moon itself, but something massive that had been hidden beneath the lunar surface for 20 years. Project Prometheus revealed itself in all its terrible glory. A weapon that channeled the sun's energy through a network of collection satellites, focused through a lunar-based array that humanity had disguised as a research station. The beam that struck the Extinction was not mere laser fire. It was the concentrated power of a star, focused into a lance of pure destruction. The dreadnought's shields, designed to withstand conventional weapons, lasted exactly 3 seconds. The ship itself lasted 2 more. As the pride of the Krellian fleet became a small sun that briefly outshone Earth itself, the remaining alien ships froze in horror. In that moment of shock, humanity pressed its advantage. "All ships," Admiral Rodriguez commanded, "execute Thunderstrike." Every human vessel fired simultaneously. Not randomly, but in a coordinated pattern that had been calculated by Earth's quantum computers in the 6 days they'd had to prepare. Missiles, torpedoes, kinetic rounds, and energy weapons created a web of destruction that left no escape routes. It was not a battle anymore. It was an execution. The few Krellian ships that tried to flee found the hyperspace lanes blocked by gravity mines humanity had deployed. They could only watch as Earth's fleet closed in. But then something unexpected happened. The human ships stopped firing. Captain Okonkwo opened a channel to the surviving Krellians. "You have one chance. Surrender unconditionally. Send word to your empire that humanity is not a disease to be cleansed. We are a species that values life, but we will defend ourselves with absolute fury when threatened. This is your only warning." 3 Krellian ships, all that remained of a fleet that had destroyed 5 human colonies, powered down their weapons. As they were boarded by human marines, the galaxy held its breath. The aftermath changed everything. The footage of the battle, recorded by dozens of observation posts and Allied ships, spread throughout known space within days. The image of Earth's moon-based weapon destroying the Krellian dreadnought became legendary. But more importantly, the message was clear. Humanity would not strike first, but if attacked, they would end the threat completely. The Krellian Empire, receiving the footage and the testimony of their surviving commanders, made a decision that shocked the galaxy. They offered unconditional peace and reparations for the destroyed colonies. They had learned what many species would learn in the years to come. Humans were not weak because they chose diplomacy. They chose diplomacy because the alternative was too terrible to contemplate. Standing on the bridge of the Resilience, Captain Okonkwo looked out at Earth, blue and beautiful against the stars. They had lost 5 colonies, 300,000 souls, but they had saved billions more and earned something perhaps more valuable: respect. Admiral Rodriguez, in his final report to Earth Command, wrote, "They thought we were prey. They learned we were predators who chose to be shepherds. Let the galaxy know. We offer our hand in friendship to all. But those who harm our people will find that hand can also make a fist." The stars still held dangers, but now they also held a truth that would echo through the cosmos. Humanity had arrived, not as conquerors, but as protectors. And the galaxy was safer for it. Commander Sarah Chen and the crew of Sentinel-7 were posthumously awarded Earth's highest honor. Their sacrifice had given humanity the warning it needed. In schools across human space, children learned their names and their final message: "We're transmitting until the end." And in the cold depths of space, where the Krellian monoliths had been planted on dead human worlds, new ships arrived. Human ships, but also Altarian, Proxima, Vegan, and dozen other species. Together they removed the monoliths and planted gardens. Where the Krellians had brought death, the galaxy chose life. The age of human isolation was over. The age of unity had begun.